knocked him over, crashed himself, and then finally got on his bike and carried on riding. That rider, of course, was Chris Froome, who went on to win the Tour de France. So you never know. Whatever happens here in these World Championships for the emerging nations, there might be a Tour de France winner amongst some of these riders. You just never know. If you want to see that clip, it's somewhere on social media. If you do a search, I watched it a few weeks ago. I'd forgotten, and I was commentating that day on Chris Froome and him coming off the star ramp. Looking out across Kigali towards the conference centre and the stadium, our next rider is about to go. This should be the rider from the Seychelles. It is Jadel Gabriel, 20 years of age, from the Seychelles. Underway for Jadel Gabriel of Seychelles. Mascot getting very much into this drumming this afternoon. This Mali kit, very brightly coloured, very easy to pick out. We'll be able to see that in the road races quite easily. Staying to the right hand side of the road as much as possible, just trying to keep this power nice and high. Muku Damutene makes it round that turn. That was the turn that Kwitwara had a little problem with, the Rwandan. Nice big gear, not in the biggest gear yet, all in the gear over nicely. This experience of riding the World Championships is huge for these African riders, and a big chance for them to be on the world stage. He's got the aero wheels that he's been able to use here. Doesn't have the disc wheel in the back. Obviously he hasn't been able to get a time trial machine in Mali. Nevertheless, he looks like a powerful rider. He looks to be riding pretty strongly. This is Aditya Prasetyo, rider for Qatar. Prasetyo is underway. Just wondering if the mascot's peaked a little bit early this afternoon. Getting close to that point then where we will be able to see that first split. That's a beautiful shot, isn't it, of the background, but of course in the foreground is the Genocide Museum and Memorial, which we're planning to go and see during this week, because it's one of the places that here in Rwanda you really should meet, just to see what it's all about and to try and remember the atrocities of a number of years ago. Kwitwara is riding well. pedaling those gears over nicely. Still riding well, isn't he? Those shoulders aren't moving. He's really bolted into that saddle nicely. There's the vital statistics of this climb, 8.6% at the bottom. So the bottom really does hurt the legs. Average gradient 5.8. You've got some respite. And he's making short work of this climb. He's going very, very well, and he'll set the standard for everybody else to beat when he reaches the top of this first rise of the day. The rider's taking in 3 climbs on today's course. Works his way through the gears. Time trialling is such a difficult discipline that you really have to be so focused on. You have to have time on your time trial bike. You've got to feel like it's part of you. You've got to have that position perfect. The hands on those extensions, those skis, those aero bars, that you just need to get everything right so that the shoulders are in the right position, the head dips down. And he's got a good position. It's not perfect by any means, but it's certainly working for him. It's all about getting the most slippery surface, basically, for the bike to slide through the air. Here's our next rider, about to go. This is Umaru Musa of Cameroon. We've just missed the start of Tekle Alameo. Cameroon rider underway, rides for Espoir de Mboa, 11th in the national championships. Just rode the national road race actually and finished 3rd there in the men's junior in his career. And in the men's elite he finished 11th. So this rider is young, 20 years of age. Coming up then to the first of our intermediate splits in about 700 metres actually. He's going to see that intermediate time split just up and round that corner. The Akagera National Park. You can see all the different birds here. Nearly 500 bird species around that national park. One of the most significant sites in the region for bird watching. The park also includes the iconic Big Five, and lions and rhinos have been reintroduced and thriving alongside the elephants, the buffaloes, the zebras and the giraffes. Also, in 2025, the park welcomed 70 southern white rhinos. This is the Kenyan rider going, as we go back here to the start of the People's Republic of China rider Li Yu. Fantastic atmosphere. Coming up to the intermediate split, the first rider goes through with an average speed 38.765. fantastic atmosphere up here at the top of this climb, it really is. So the Rwandan rider, Mur'Iri, is going well, and he's now going to get himself into the next phase of this time trial. Nearly 70 kilometres an hour. Back to the start then of our next rider. This is Gomalemo Kiolotswe. Now to get going, rolls down the ramp for Botswana. Out on the course with Jadel Gabriel of the Seychelles. To be riding really conservatively right now. He's riding well, but you can notice just the way he's turning the pedals over. He's got the aero bike, so that's giving him a little bit of an advantage. Really lovely, consistent pedaling style, the way he's riding. There's no pushing, is there? It's all just turning the pedals over really nicely, heading a nice, easy line. Currently at 40 kilometres an hour. He's going to have to find a little bit more speed than that if he wants to be one of the top riders in the early stages. But certainly on this particular climb, if he could have got himself to the top and then accelerated over the top, he wouldn't lose that few seconds he's just lost by getting out of the saddle just before the top. It's all about keeping yourself the momentum, not losing, shaving off any speed. Kwitwara continues, wearing number 61, the first rider to go for Rwanda. Our next rider to go is Jaka Marolds from the Slovenian squads. And the start of the Slovenian rider, Jaka Marolds, number 51. And once you get towards the end of this field, there are some extremely fast bike riders. Still consistent, still riding strongly, 16.5 kilometres to go. Our next split will be after 19 kilometres of racing. That will be with 12.2 kilometres to go, so 4.1 kilometres remain until he gets to that intermediate split. Coming up to the main turn now, he's going to turn round and start to work his way back towards the race finish. Brilliant atmosphere on that corner. Very easy for the Rwandan riders to get a little bit carried away, not concentrate on their performance. Just by the amount of support there is, but you've really got to dial yourself in As we heard earlier from riders, you've just got to go through the process, be contained in terms of what you are looking to do in every single race. Go through your rituals, go through the start, work out the best way to get the best performance out of yourself. This is the Campaign Against Genocide Museum. Such an important statue that stands outside it. Highlights how Rwanda's people, despite their profound loss, came together to forge the path towards peace, justice and a national healing. A very important educational platform, ensuring that the lessons of the past inspire the future generations. "15 kilometres to go for our first rider. Etienne Twizera. 23 minutes of riding have gone by and he's still riding consistently. Starting to rock and roll a little bit more, finding the gear a little bit tougher. This is our rider from Qatar. This is Aditya Prasetio from Qatar. Going up this climb now. A beautiful time trial bike. Spinning well. I don't think there's a lot of speed being carried right now though. But that is a beautiful setup of a bike, isn't it? Our next rider about to go. From Tanzania, Ahmed Said. Every single rider gets a start, don't they? That's the great thing about this whole nation and the way that they welcome people. So Ahmed Said finished third on a stage of the Zanzibar International Sports Festival. Aditya Prasetio right on the front of the saddle, just trying to get himself to the top of the climb. I think he's going to lose a significant amount of time on this Côte de Nyanza. He's doing 16 kilometres an hour pretty consistently without slowing down or speeding up. On to the descent now. Here in riders hitting well over 90 kilometres an hour on this descent. And this is where our first rider is, coming up towards the second split at 19 kilometres. Going through that first split, he's still the fastest rider. Malakwen is second for Kenya. He's 2 minutes and 13 down at that point. And Dukurikire of Mali is third place, 2 minutes 43.49 down. This is Andre Balianin, a neutral athlete. 20 years of age, getting underway then. He's finished third in the Summer Spartakiad of Youth, third in the National Championship, the winner of the Ishkef's race back in June. Got about 600 metres to go until he reaches the second intermediate split. is Tekle Lenyo going well at the moment for Ethiopia, concentrating well on the effort in hand. Rides for Team Amani. If you've not come across Team Amani before, it's an interesting project. They say they're unapologetically ambitious, with an initiative that aims to incubate, nurture and develop athletes from the East African regions with a pedigree in distance running to transcend a different sport, the discipline of cycling. They've got 3 key pillars of focus: demonstrate performance, create racing opportunities at home, and invest in the future. They've got some great partners as we look here at Etienne coming up towards the line to go through the second split. Going to go through there to set the standard, 40.7 kilometres an hour, so he's found a little bit more speed. So this Amani project, very important in African cycling, taking the best riders from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda and Ethiopia. And this rider here from Ethiopia, trying to compete in the biggest gravel and road races on the planet ultimately, and showcase what can be achieved where the hurdles of material and access to racing are removed. We've also mentioned the Black Mamba Development Squad earlier on today and during this race. And that's all part of this Team Amani setup. So an important part of African cycling, and doing everything they can to ensure that everybody has a little bit of a chance. They've also invested in the future in a high performance centre, the Amani House. That is in a little town at 2,400 metres of elevation, so they're able to ride at altitude. And that Amani House aims to hoist the flag of cycling by creating a space dedicated to performance and excellence. They've got some great partners. They've got Rafa, POC, Factor, SRAM, Wahoo, Physic, and they're always looking for more partners to just try and give the athletes from these particular African countries more opportunity to shine and actually achieve what is possible. Edward Nagunu has just gone off the ramp for Kenya. These initiatives that we're hearing about in African cycling, so important to just try and drive some sort of improvement much quicker by removing those barriers. And we see here in these races that there are riders who are just riding on old aluminium frames, and they haven't been able to get the access to some of the equipment that they could really do with, which would ultimately help improve their performance. You take a rider from being in a time trial like this on a road bike and put them on a time trial bike like this, immediately their performance changes. Immediately they're able to go quicker. Immediately they're able to slice through the air. So all these projects, the links of course with the World Cycling Centre for the UCI and others, just trying to find these athletes who can compete at the highest level. Because there's no doubt, when we look at African nations, we think about long distance running. African nations are top of the world. There is no reason why there couldn't be an endurance athlete in cycling here in these African areas, whether it be Rwanda or Ethiopia or Uganda or wherever it might be, that can compete at the very, very highest level in terms of winning a Tour de France, winning a Giro d'Italia or something like that. we've already got in the men's elite ranks Finian Gamay winning the green jersey of the Tour de France. That is an ultimate game changer. And as he said at that time, the door is now open. He wanted to make the door open for as many riders as possible. Inspiring the future here with these championships in Rwanda. There's a new fastest time at the first intermediate split for the People's Republic of China. Li Yu has gone through with a time of 16 minutes 11.87. Just only 11 seconds, 12 seconds faster than this rider from Rwanda. He needs to pick his line carefully through here. We already saw him have a little problem in one of the turns earlier on today, but he gets safely through there. Heading now towards the final intermediate split. He's fastest at the second one, of course, because he's the first rider through there. But with 4.6 kilometres of racing to go, he will make his way through the next split. This is Danilo Kozaris, riding for Ukraine. Kozaris about to go, 18 years of age, national time trial champion of Ukraine. 10th in the road race. Not had, of course, too many race days this season, unfortunately. And the last countdown for the Ukrainian rider. This is the fastest rider on the course right now. Li Yu of the People's Republic of China, going very, very well out on the course. Looks consistent, riding one of these incredible time trial bikes. Really big, wide stays on the back of this bike now. This rider, 20 years of age, rides for the China Antimentec cycling team. Just finished 9th in a Chinese race, China Jishi Xinkai Lake Cup. See how wide the forks are getting on these bikes now. Bit of going on in that particular area. So he's making his way down now towards the next intermediate split. He's 200 metres from there. He's going to go through there, set the time, and then make his way onto the cobbles for this final rise up towards the top of the climb. Shafik Magalu of Uganda about to get underway. The Ugandan rider gets going. And as he gets going, I was just reminded a few moments ago as I was sitting here and thinking about this racing, thinking about Uganda itself. As we just go to the intermediate sprint, Marolta's gone through with the fastest time now. So he's overtaken Li Yu as the fastest rider out on the course, the Slovenian rider. Yeah. So he looks like he's starting to pick up the tempo. So I was just thinking about Uganda itself and thinking about how it's linked so closely with cycling, and for many people might be an unusual way, but of course Uganda was the home of Paul Sherwin, one of our colleagues who we sadly lost a few years ago and is still so much missed. And Paul Sherwin lived in Uganda, and now his legacy is setting up the Paul Sherwin Project. They're doing so much as Liu goes round that turn, just trying to help the Karamojong local people build skills to participate in the local area. There's a vocational school there, and they're doing everything they can to try and help with the school there, which Paul Sherwin had been so much linked with and trying to help everybody out. The teachers' residence there, trying to help to grow student enrolment and attract great teachers, so they needed housing to live in the area. Ongoing, they're working on the water, the power and the landscaping. There's extreme weather and isolation in that particular area, so water and electricity aren't readily available. And they've already completed the Hoffman family mother and child residence, allowing young mothers to keep learning while they take care of their youngest child. There's also the hall there. And that hall is named after Paul Sherwin's co-commentator Phil Liggett, helping to achieve Paul's dreams that he had for that particular area. So there's the Phil Liggett Hall, a multi-purpose hall to help the community with meals, assemblies, celebrations. And there's the Paul Sherwin Workshop, to offer life-changing opportunities to empower young women in that particular area. At the Tour de France, I had breakfast with Phil Liggett. It's always a pleasure, and Phil gave me a Paul Sherwin Project cap that I wore during the Tour de France. And if you want to take a look at the Paul Sherwin Project. He's sadly missed, but his legacy and what he did in Uganda lives on. So I don't think, until we went to his memorial service, that all of us except Phil realised just how much Paul Sherwin had contributed to his local area. That's what the fun of these World Championships is all about, that helper at the side of the road running alongside with a Rwandan flag. This rider is only 2 kilometres now from the finish. And while I was thinking about Uganda and Paul Sherwin, and we hear and there about Phil Liggett, as we go back to the race start, our next rider's about to go. This, I think, is Ted Tosavi of Benin. Ted Tosavi about to get underway. The Benin rider gets going. As I was reading that information about Paul Sherwin out to you, and just going through some of that detail of what he's trying to do with the legacy of Paul Sherwin, Phil Liggett is very involved, the family of Paul Sherwin is involved. But of course, we talked about the rhinos a few moments ago, and Phil Liggett is so linked with helping rhinos and trying to make sure that rhinos don't disappear from Africa. The two of them lived in Africa, Phil Liggett in South Africa and Paul Sherwin in Uganda, and Phil is still pushing it all the time. Help the rhinos is what he always talks about. And I'm sure Phil isn't here, but he was in Rwanda a couple of weeks ago. He rode with the president, and he messaged me before this commentary, and I know he's looking forward to watching at home. But also, I'm sure Paul Sherwin would have absolutely loved to be here.